operation, the next shift of it, which begins, and so much of today we focus on third down. And the second part of that operation is going to be the ball. And for our last game to finish +3 finally was a big push for us to make sure that we were able to create some, especially like the way the offense took care of it in the game. Good decisions, good mindfulness for it. I think for sure that's going to be a factor. Both these teams have a real mindset for the ball, and their defense has done a nice job of creating some takeaways and forced fumbles. But a big third down day today as well, so that's an area that we've certainly made some strides in offensively, and one we're going to continue to need to do so against the talent in front. So injury-wise, most guys are going to be able to participate in some form or fashion today, including some of the walkthrough portions of practice. So our goal is to be just as fast as we possibly can come here Saturday night. So the week's off to a good start for us. So glad to start it off and get ready.
Coach, how serious is Freeman's injury? We didn't find out about that till later today, and putting that with McGee coming up, everybody wants to know how serious that is.
Right. He'll participate in some things today, so just want to make sure as we get him closer to the game that he's just feeling as fast as he possibly could be led. So we're encouraged where we're going, and we'll get a little bit of work today.
That happened in the game?
Yes.
And just for review, I'm pretty sure the coaches can't interview for other jobs until you're done.
Well,
Is there a window?
Yeah, I believe there is one. I think it's, the process that the league has is a good one. And this time of year, some guys get some opportunities to do that and get a chance to visit, usually the initial parts of it. And, Keith Armstrong will be one next week that will get an opportunity to do that and get going on that process. So we've always are fun for the guys when they get those opportunities to have those kind of meetings. So that won't be until next week.
Sean McVay said you were one of the first people he reached out to when he got the job, and he said he really influenced the way he's approached things. What do you think he's done to turn around that team so fast, especially on offense? What about him?
Wow, that's a good question. I would say, number one, you could really, in my very first conversation with him, get a real clear identity of how he wanted to do things. And I think when you're first starting into a program, you want to make sure that comes across in terms of this is how we're going to do things, this is how we want to operate. For a few years now, he's really been well equipped in terms of the way to call offenses, how to attack. You've seen that through his time at Washington and then it carried over, now to LA. You would think he would be a prime example for a quarterback to learn from, in the examples, good throws, where to go to. So, from watching from afar, I certainly impressed.
You just make it to the regular season and find your defense ranked in the top 10. Total defense and scoring defense has been a loss for Atlanta to be there. Can you kind of take a big picture look at the progression of the defense and where you stand now?
I think, when you have some on-the-job training, you have some mistakes along the way, but there's some lessons to be learned as well. And I think as we went through last year, we had a little bit more on-the-job training. And then it got into this year, and we've gotten better, especially in the areas that we've emphasized. And we give credit to Marquand and BY and Doug and Jeff Ulbrich in terms of the communication piece on that side. That part has really picked up on the defensive side where they can communicate hand signals, just sometimes an eye contact now that you've had so much time together that this play's coming or this alert's coming. So I think this group can take another jump. They're athletic, they tackle them well, the communication piece is there. So I'm very hopeful for where that group can go.
Deion Jones appears to speaking of taking the lead, to taking that big step this year.
He has, and Devontae Campbell has as well. And I've really seen him, Neal, and Campbell, Jones, Neal, and Campbell take a big step from year one to year two, just as you hoped it would happen. You've heard me say for a long time, I think a guy can get better from 1 to 2, and I think that also happens from 2 to 3, where they're learning the game better, they understand it. That first year can come as a whirlwind at times, and they answered the challenge for that. But you felt the intent of coming into the year, and all three of them, I thought it was a really significant jump. Technique-wise, scheme-wise, communication-wise, all of that is starting to come together for those guys.
Coach, as we go into this playoffs, I know you talked about them so much, of course, but what's the one single thing that has impressed you the most about Matt and the way he's handled matters?
Special teams player of the week, Matt Bryant?
No, Matt.
Very brilliant. talk about the old grumpy man. So we're very excited for him. And even smiled today when we announced it in the room. So it's typical Matt Bryant. Here's what I love about Matt Ryan. It's the competitive one. And he has a real edge about him, preparing, playing. You can tell how much he cares. It just comes across so damn clear because of the competitor that he is. So all of us who are around him feel that. He's always pushing. He's always trying to take that next spot. And sometimes it's the decision to run it or convert that way. Behind the scenes, the way he supports a guy. But I guess about 3 weeks ago, we had him mic'd up for a game. Or not we, the league did. And we took some takes from that we shared with the team. And if I could share that with you, you would clearly understand where his drive comes from, the competitor that he is. It was like so vivid of how hard he plays, how hard he wants to go for it for the guys. So he's not only just an excellent leader, but one hell of a competitor. And that kind of grit, that kind of toughness really stands out to his teammates, and we're damn fortunate we got him.
Yeah, can it take a couple of years for guys to figure out when to put it down on a Wednesday night, when to put it down on a Thursday night?
Yep, talking about in terms of like preparation,
Yeah.
Chris. Yeah, it's a good question. And as a performer, there's a real routine to get into. And when you get out of whack and you try sometimes to overanalyze and overdo it, it can take away from your game. I've been real mindful of that as an assistant coach to, through experience, all the alerts for us as coaches doesn't do any good for the player if he can't function at full speed. So that's our job. And how do we make football easier? Coaches are the ones that can screw it up and make it harder at times. And for a player, what's the right balance? And you've heard us use the process, and other people have used that term. If that part is correct, and you know what you go through each day and nailing that part, then you can kind of shift into the next one. That way, when you get towards the end of the week, really that preparation can kind of go, not like it's going away, it's in there already. Now you can just focus how we're going to go, how we're going to play, how you're going to attack. And I think for anybody in here who, as a competitor, you know that feeling when you just can't wait for this game to happen. I hope this coverage comes up. I hope this opportunity, for this play comes about because I put the work in. And sometimes when you overthink, there can be too many numbers, too many things. And so, yeah, it's a real issue and one that we talk about a lot to make sure we're really staying consistent with the guys. As coaches, our job, our preparation is their preparation. So we want to make sure they're not going off on their own trying to make things up and do things in a different way. One story I can relate to that, I remember 5 years ago or 6 years ago, we were playing a team and they had tons of checks at the line of scrimmage. And they were saying, this means this and this means that. And I know some people had texted me and called that. And I thought, if they're texting me, I know the players are hitting. And this code word means this and this code word means that. And I remember going back into the meeting. I said, let's make sure. I kind of asked who has got a call or something to say, I know what that word means. And almost everybody raised their hand. Okay, let's make sure that we get our cleats in the grass and go attack these guys. And the times we start overthinking, we'll really play slow, and that's not who we are. So as a coach, you definitely have to be mindful of that over-trying aspect of things. Stay true to it. What happens Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And when you get to the game, you get to that space that you're just ready to rock. It's a good feeling as a competitor because now you're not over-trying and trying to make things up on the way. But it's something that happens to all competitors at times because you want it so damn bad that you want to do extra, and then a little more, and then one more. But there's that readiness that you feel that you got to trust that too.
And is it also the coaches know that this guy's a visual guy, he needs to see it, touch it, feel it, as opposed to this guy can get it off the board?
And that's our job to, as we get to know the players better. It may be this guy, he would really like the moves. This player would really like it on his iPad, spelled out to him for the video. This player, all that meeting time is good, but if you don't go through the walkthrough, it's not going to be worth much. So each individual guy is different. And that's why, as a coach, you better touch on all those different ways that guys learn. So that part of teaching as a coach is a real rewarding part because it's our job to get them to the game feeling really prepared and really right mindset. And if they're cloudy on some things or overthinking and you see a guy playing slow, then maybe you have too much. And that's been my experience when that happens, start taking out.
I'm curious to know how much you think experience matters when it comes to the playoffs. If you look at you guys have some, if you look at the Rams, they really don't.
Well, I recognize it's the question for sure. It's always good to be battle tested in anything that you're doing. But when you get into the game, it still comes down to that format. How do you handle the buildup and going on the things outside? Do you stay consistent for the things that are inside your walls and control the things you can? I think that's an important piece. But as far as like playing in the game, it's going to feel exactly like normal when you get to that spot. It's how do you handle the things outside.
Coach, one more, I'm sorry, just to clarify on the injuries. Will Julio do anything today, and what about Andre Roberts?
Yes, both of them will participate in some fashion, whether it's walkthrough or part of the practice.
Okay, any concern with Roberts, because, with the return situation and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think anytime, guys, dealing with an injury as a coach, that's our job to have the contingency plan to be concerned. But at the same time, I know who these guys are, I know where they're at, and I've got a lot of confidence in where they're headed.
And other individual tendencies that you'll want to look at, but is last year's game as close to a throw it away as possible because of how much has changed?
Yeah, I didn't look at it. Only because it just felt like, special teams wise, you can because of the difference. But from a scheme standpoint, I didn't think it was going to add a lot of value of how we would go attack and how they play. So for us, there was plenty of other tape for us to focus our time and attention on, and I'm still going through those. So we'll get to that spot when we get there. But yeah, I